Hello, church family and friends. This is the Morganton Baptist Church Weekly Ministry Review. I hope that you are doing well, that you're safe. I am praying for you, praying that you'll be safe, but also praying that you will tell your salvation story to someone this week. Last Sunday, or really Saturday afternoon, we recorded the service and uploaded it for Sunday morning. I hope you enjoyed it. Goodness gracious, the Ledford family with Josh and his wife Kelsey did an amazing job singing. We're so blessed to have them in our church and that they use their skills and talents for God's glory. The praise team did an awesome job. It's been a really fun past 2 weekends where we've gotten together here in the auditorium. We've recorded the service with the praise team. We've had a lot of fun laughing and fellowshipping with one another and joking with one another. But just seeing the fellowshipping of the praise team coming back together, enjoying serving the Lord in a psalm. Also, when I preached to you last Sunday, I preached to you from Acts chapter 26, verses 1 to 18, and taught you about how to share your salvation story. Every one of us who has been saved by the grace of God have a story to tell, and that you should tell your salvation story willingly, truthfully, and genuinely. I also gave you the challenge that you would record yourself and then of telling your salvation story and then posting it on to your Facebook page, or maybe you have a YouTube channel. If you don't have a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, I'll be glad to record you here in the auditorium. In fact, I'll just sit down with you and have a little interview style where you can stand here and just tell how it is that you came to know Christ as your Lord and Savior. I've had one lady this past week contact me. That's Deborah Collier. She contacted me about having herself interviewed and telling the salvation story. If you are able to do this and you do it at home, let me know so that I can post it on our Facebook page of our church Facebook page also. Now, this coming Sunday, I'm going to preach to you from Acts chapter 26, verses 19 through verse number 32, the rest of Acts chapter 26, with 2 more principles for how you can tell your salvation story. And so I'm hoping that by next week, many of you have already recorded yourself, posted on your Facebook page, or you contacted me about being recorded for telling your salvation story. For how will people know about Christ unless we tell them? How will they know about the difference He's made in our life and the salvation He's given to us unless we make people known of it and tell them and share it? And so I hope that you'll take up that challenge that I gave you from last Sunday of telling your salvation story. I want you to pray particularly for Sunshine Gibbs. We prayed for her a couple of weeks ago. She's a little 15-month-old daughter of a family that I know of very well, the Gibbs family, but me and Tim worked with her father, Dakota, and she had been having seizures, and they had treated her for that for over the last couple of weeks, but they now found out that she does have a brain tumor. And so yesterday was a very bad day, sad day. They found that she had a brain tumor. They are working with the doctors right now for a treatment plan. So you pray for Dakota Gibbs. You pray for his daughter, Sunshine Gibbs. Obviously for Elizabeth Gibbs and her husband, Joey, the grandparents. You pray for peace. You pray for God's healing in this situation, and for this little 15-month-old little girl to be able to grow up healthy and strong because of God's wonderful grace in healing her body. I want you to pray for other folks as well in our church that are going through difficult times and hardships. Very, very soon, we're going to gather back together for a regathering of worshiping here in our auditorium on June the 14th. But before we can do that, I need to just let you know about several procedures and policies that we must abide by in order to be able to come in here and be the church that is meeting together and gathering together in a safe manner. We cannot, as a church body, become the church that is known for spreading the coronavirus in our community. We want to be the church that's known for spreading the message of the gospel, not a coronavirus or the COVID-19 virus in our community. So we are going to be very, very cautious, and we're going to ask you to abide by some very strict social distancing procedures. When you come here on June the 14th, you will receive some guidelines. And I'm not going to go over all of these guidelines today, but there are 21 as of today. This may change by now in June the 14th. But these guidelines have been taken from the direction of the Georgia Baptist Mission Board, also working with the governor's office with churches to give churches an understanding and information about how they can properly regather together for an in-person worship service. These are guidelines that I have received. They're not mandates, they're not requirements, but they are procedures that is the best policy to follow. So let me tell you just a few things. We will not be able to operate a children's ministry at this time. This is phase one of coming back and regathering. Doesn't mean we're doing away with our children's ministry or our nursery. We're not able to operate a nursery or our children's ministry such as Children's Sunday School or our Mountain Faith Kids Assembly. That doesn't mean that we've done away with them. Phase one is just regathering in an auditorium for a worship service. When you come here, the doors of the auditorium will be opened at 10:45. We really discourage you from coming in and fellowshipping and gathering with people and loitering, particularly in the foyer or here in the auditorium. I know it's going to be very impersonal. It's not going to be the way we worship before with one another and fellowshipping. But right now, this is just simply phase one. We will open the doors 15 minutes till 11. You can come in, but you can take a seat. But we will have the pews marked off in such a way that families can sit together. If you live in the home with someone, that's the person you need to sit with. You can sit in a pew with somebody that you do not live with in the same home only if you can maintain 6 foot of distance from that person. We're going to work at these pews in such a way that they'll be marked off in a staggered configuration, because what we have found out in just recent weeks is that when congregations are meeting together, the singing of the worship songs, the expelling of the air and the droplets, therefore, have exposed people to germs and obviously the COVID-19 virus. Therefore, we don't want anyone singing behind another person or singing behind their head, so we're going to stagger. In fact, I was told today, Eric, you need to tell your congregation members that when they leave here, they should go home and take a shower, particularly wash their hair because of the singing that goes on in a worship service. Now, you may say, well, Eric, what is the difference between going to Walmart, where there's many, many people at Walmart, and coming to a worship service? What is the difference? Why do we have to have these many procedures? Well, there is a huge difference between going to Walmart and walking down an aisle with about 7 or 8 people in that aisle than there is coming into a worship setting service in an enclosed facility with about 65 people. It's a huge, huge difference. And I won't go into all of the details, but let me tell you, we are taking the precautions that we believe is necessary for you to be able to come to a worship service healthy and leave here healthy. We're going to ask that you do not shake hands, that you do not hug. This is what we would call a non-touch worship service. You've heard of the sports that are called non-contact sports. Well, this is going to be a non-contact worship service. This is phase one. And I know this is going to be difficult and hard for you. Let me go over just a couple more of the procedures and guidelines. If you have been sick or had a fever during the week, or if you've been around someone who has been sick with a cough, with a cold, who has run a fever, please do not attend the worship service. The congregation can sit with people who are in their homes, and you sit where the pews are allowed, where you're allowed to sit in the pews. But we ask that you are dismissed in an orderly fashion. We will dismiss the service from the rear, begin with the rear, and work our way to the front. Evening services will be suspended until further notice. Doesn't mean we're doing away with that, but right now we're easing into rejoining together in worship service. We ask you do not fellowship in the foyer or the auditorium before or after the service, but you can fellowship with one another in the parking lot if you maintain 6 foot of distance. We will not print a bulletin during this first phase. we ask that you come into the auditorium. The doors will be open, both the exterior doors and the interior doors. Our security team and our greeters will not be staying at the doors. The greeters will not be greeting you whatsoever. We will have security team members who are working. They will be in the foyer area, but they will not be standing by the doors where you would walk directly by them. We want to keep them safe as well. Your tithe and offerings, again, you can place them in an offering plate that will be setting on the worship center entrance desk. We're asking that when you come, that you have to use the restroom, that just one person in the restroom at a time, unless there is an emergency. We're also going to be working with our cleaning team to possibly just simply limit certain stalls in the restroom for use. But we'll let you know more details about that particular guideline in the near future. I know many of you are ready and willing to come back, and you want to be in church service right now. But know this, that I am working with the Georgia Baptist Mission Board, working with other churches in our community to make the best decisions for your health, the best policies for our church moving forward, because we're in a new time, a different time. There is no pastor alive who has ever pastored church during a pandemic such as what we are in right now. This is new territory. It's uncharted territory that we're going through right now. I thank you for your wonderful patience and your grace and your mercy during this time. Hope that you will tune in next Sunday morning for a recorded worship service together, and then that you'll come back again on Thursdays and watch this recording of our weekly ministry review. You can watch it any time that you like after I post them on Thursdays. I want you also to share with other people what you've heard me say, through the ministry review and on the Sunday morning services about our regathering on June the 14th. I'm sure that I'll leave someone out. If I try to call every person, I'll probably leave someone out. But if you'll simply share the word that we are regathering June the 14th in phase 1, and that there will be some strict guidelines for rejoining and regathering together in worship. So, hope you'll have a good and godly week. God bless.